this fire. I was born to be making history. Something greater, something higher. Ain't nothing gonna stop this fire.
All right, welcome back to the Ember Podcast. It's been a little bit since we've had anything to talk about here, and we've uploaded an episode. Well, we are back. We're going to be talking today specifically around the confusion that's surrounding Ashes of Creation and the apocalypse. And it's unfortunately turning into a bit of an apocalypse of its own. So today we actually do have some awesome people with us. We have Ziz. Ziz, if you want to go ahead and say hello.
What's up, everybody?
We also have Danny, who is also one of our streamers here in Ember as well.
It's your boy coming at you.
And then we also do have DerRoc, who is phoning in right now.
How's it going? Hey, I'm just a developer, do some development on the side, so love to join you guys.
Awesome, man. Well, we're glad to have each of you. What we're going to get into first here, guys, is going to be the confusion around the game that's kind of swirling around it. Seems like there is a bit of a storm brewing in this case, a storm that's currently plaguing, the game and, people's understanding of it. So what we're going to do next here is kind of just talk about that, specifically around the miscommunications that, seem to be really plaguing us here. Ziz, I know you have very, very strong opinions about this. I'm actually going to open it up to you first. I know. That's why I'm coming to you, man. So why don't you kind of lay into it?
Yeah, well, where do we even start, I guess, is the question. Let's start just the most recent thing. If you pull up their Discord right now, which is a whole nother topic on its own. Why is the Discord the official means of communication? It's ridiculous. Their Discord is a cesspool. Most people don't even want to be a part of it. But it's still the official means of communication. And today, which is the 19th when we're recording this, if you aren't aware, yesterday, the 18th, was supposed to be the official launch of the BR for everybody who has signed up on the website. This is something they've been talking about for months that was coming. Something they told us a specific day, the 18th, a couple of weeks ago. So that was yesterday. As of today, 6 o'clock on the 19th, the communication on Discord is, as you've noticed, we're still hard at work, blah, 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 BS that they always say. The servers will be brought down again soon to allow us to further assess the collection data. It's a never-ending. Let me just put it this way: they have no idea what they're doing, and it shows. And as much as I like them, as much as I'm hopeful for the MMO, we are seeing why everybody was skeptical of a person running a company making MMO. This is exactly why. Because every date they've set for the last 2 months, they've missed over and over and over. And now you got huge streamers like Lyric with 30,000 people trying to watch, and the servers are up and down. There's so many problems. So let's just start there. Their communication on when this thing was even supposed to be open. They missed it completely.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. When it comes down to it, they need to be better at estimating their time frames. All right, Danny, what's your opinion on it?
I've been on the receiving end of this for quite some time. I've been a part of almost every BR testing instance, and there's been multiple occasions where I've streamed like 3 hours of nothing of queue time, and it's like a never-ending apology. And of course, it's frustrating, but I don't know. Development is fluid in quotation marks.
It is. What's even more frustrating, if you go back and look in their Discord right now, they'll keep you updated for like the first, I don't know, maybe hour or two. They'll say, oh, we'll try again in 15 minutes. We'll try again in half an hour. We'll try again in an hour. And then there'll come a point like 3 hours into the process where like, everybody's still waiting, and then they're gone. They're gone. They don't say anything else, and they're not like, it's just like, hey, we're still working on it, and there's not another communication for like another 18 hours. And you're like, you couldn't simply say, hey, we're going home. Like, I understand it's 4 a.m. Go home. I'm happy for you. But you couldn't just like let people know what the plan is. That was too difficult. You just up and left. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, see what's happening here, and just to break in here, I'm partial to be on their side, and that's kind of the odd man out here, because I come from this mindset of they're developers. We have a company run by developers trying to do something that I said this before, like it's not been done before. And people are like, well, sure, it's been done before. Other people have tested it, but it hasn't been tested and it hasn't been done before on the scale they're trying to achieve. They're trying to do an MMO that's never been done before. They don't have any kind of baseline to judge it off of. And that's the problem we're having here is they don't have PR people. They don't have great marketing people. They don't have great project managers that are stepping in and saying, okay, let's be realistic here. They got developers that have a passion and love for the game and think that they're going to, you know, solve world hunger and do amazing things. And, you know, I come from that same mindset where someone says, what can you do? And I'm like, oh, I can do these amazing things. And, you know, and in my mind, I can do it in 2 weeks. And, you know, I have to have someone behind me as a project manager say, hold up now. Now let's be realistic. You know, you believe you can do it. And that's what I feel like they're missing. You know, they're doing amazing things that they're showing us that never been done before. Now, also reminded that we're in alpha, you know, I mean, they're trying to, these kind of huge MMO games that are developed don't just, you know, usually don't just come out when they're first an idea being developed. They come out when they've been tested and proven, and they want you to say, hey, we want you to beta test this and experience it. And that's old school beta testing of games. They're doing it where, hey, listen, we're literally writing the code as you play it. And unfortunately, if we carry one decimal place, so we put a slash when there should have been a period in our code, we break the whole system.
I hear what you're saying, but the problem is they're not making an MMO. This is a BR game that was meant for a test. They then decided it was going to be a standalone product and they wanted to monetize. They're then incompetent enough to not come out with a date, not hit a date, screw up on all of the information they're giving us. And then finally, 2 days after it's supposed to be released, still saying, well, we're going to let some people in and some not, and we're going to have the servers up and down. If this was all part of the MMO alpha process of an MMO, then no one would have an issue. Yeah, this is an alpha. Servers go up and down. No, this is the second day of a BR launch for a game that was supposed to be an MMO.
It is. When it comes down to it, I think what they're missing here is that person that communicates this stuff. You know, Steven himself, he wears so many different hats, but he doesn't really have that experience in this sense where he's not really the right person for that.
Well, it doesn't seem like he's learning from it either, though, because this has been the last month. Every test has been like this. Hey, we got to delay for an hour. Like, Danny, you've played every test.
Yes.
For the last month, it's been every test.
Oh, yeah.
He's a passionate developer. You're not going to change that about him. He's a passionate developer. And every time he thinks today's the time that I'm going to make it happen and my team's going to do it. And, you know, and honestly, you don't want him to lose that. I mean, for him to be a good businessman, he's going to have to a little bit find that medium. But you really don't want him to lose that passion and that, you know, that desire to break barriers, because those barriers are what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a game, an MMO that comes out that breaks barriers that have never been done before, that challenges the status quo. And this is the hard knocks of trying to create that amazing game. Is we're trying things, they fail, we try something different, it fails, we try, and he doesn't want to give up until he gets it right. And we're going to have something amazing. I feel it because we have someone who has that passion about it. However, we're feeling the struggles of him. He doesn't know what he's doing yet. He doesn't have the answer. He knows the answer's there and he knows he's going to achieve it, but he is trial and erroring as he goes, developing this game, seeing what works and what doesn't. And that's part of the alpha testing, trying to figure it out and make it work.
It is. And a lot of this is a learning experience for him. You know, yes, he is being overly optimistic with a lot of these testing frames, or time frames in this case. I think what needs to happen is he needs to have someone that can communicate with the dev team directly, you know, basically ask like the hard-hitting questions of like, okay, what's your worst case scenario? And then give a correct time frame, like, okay, it's probably going to be out between, you know, these 2 hours. Instead of saying it'll be out by this time, it'll be between these two different periods. So that way we can at least expect those high and lows, you know, because what's happening is I'm thinking that he's probably getting like, he's like, okay, what's your best case scenario for this coming out? And he's giving that best case scenario, but then obviously there's issues, right? It's like it is an active development environment. So he's giving out just the first number, and that's not helpful for us as a community. You know, it's definitely not helpful for people that are trying to create content around this. That's definitely not helpful for people that are hoping to get into tests. It just makes it very difficult for us to schedule things, for us to, be able to participate, right? Because, I know myself, I made the mistake of taking a couple days off, after the first couple weeks of testing, because they said, okay, it's going to be on these dates. And then it wasn't, so then I learned really quickly, okay, well, their times aren't reliable. So I think when it comes down to it, the biggest thing that they could do to improve their confusion is get a person to actually ask those questions that would then relay that information to the Discord and take Steven out of that position, keep him in the position that he's good at, which is, basically the creative aspects of the game and the community aspect where he's, really good at like hyping up the community, but definitely, definitely get someone else in there that's experienced in that job. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. Nobody wants to spend like $500 to be a free recipient of a trial and error on testing a game that's already morphed genres. And you can call it a learning experience all you want, but this isn't paid QA. This is external users who expect the person making the game to have the right decisions in mind since they paid for this already. And I definitely think that bringing in somebody to kind of communicate that from the community to the the studios, the developers. We need that middleman, and Steven's not cutting it. And hopefully, I heard that they're bringing in a new community manager. Hopefully, she'll be able to do some work with that be that kind of middleman. Who knows what's going to happen with that kind of. Who knows? I don't know.
But it's not, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Sinbad, wasn't it posted, if it goes to a Twitter account, doesn't say community marketing manager?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's what it says. No, but it goes to my point that I was just thinking of. Why does Steven need to hype this and push it so much? Why couldn't he just not say anything, wait till it's ready and say, hey, you guys, we've been telling you for 2 months that everybody get access. Guess what? Today's the day. It's open. The reason he can't do that, they want money from this. They've spent all their development time making embers, making skins, putting in a cash shop system, having all this season pass stuff. And now the person they hire, you may think it's just a word, but it's pretty telling when it says community marketing manager.
Well, so
that's their focus.
To be fair to them, right? They don't have like a corporate backer. They don't have someone that can just funnel in money. This is all self-funded by Steven, right? So they are working on a limited time frame that they can be viable as a company. So they have to bring in additional funds through either the the monthly backer packages that they put out each month, or in this case, for this to be viable and have a server that's constantly running, they have to pay for that server, right? They have to pay for the time to basically put into the development of this. So that makes sense.
Well, what should your expectations be though? If we go back a year and a half to the Kickstarter, where they say we have enough money to make a viable product. The only reason we're coming to Kickstarter isn't because we want money. Steven himself has said that. We didn't come to Kickstarter for money. We came because we wanted the community involved. So they already said we have enough money to make an MMO. We're only here for you guys to be involved. Now, a year and a half later, we're getting a BR game that's marketed out the wazoo, and they're saying, oh, it's because we need money for it. What am I supposed to expect from that?
Are they saying that? I guess I didn't hear that. Are they saying that we need money? We're looking for more money.
For the servers,
they're hiring a marketing manager.
Yeah, they keep the servers up 24/7. That's Steven's explanation is why they're monetizing it, is to pay for those servers. And that was one of the other content creators, Jalon, asked the questions directly to him is, you said you could build an MMO. Didn't you factor in testing time and servers for testing within that? And the answer was, well, we didn't know we were going to leave the servers up 24/7 for a BR. Now we need to pay for the BR servers.
Right. Which I think in this, the reason they're kind of in this mess to begin with is because they didn't communicate it correctly when they were putting it out initially, and then they made I think kind of like a knee-jerk reaction to justify it being a BR as making its own product. Which that's just my opinion of it. I obviously don't have any proof of that, but
I don't feel like they meant to do the BR to begin with. I don't feel like they had some hidden agenda to create a BR and market that. Like that it came up and they thought, hey, this is a great opportunity. Let's cash in. And they're a business. They make a game. I mean, that's a BR. If they made that BR game, that could be a standalone game like any other BR. But I'm just happy that I don't get the sense that they want to stop there, and that's a really nice thing to hear. Like they don't. You get that sense, and unfortunately, he's just too he's too friendly and passionate to be able to give a bad. I don't think he wants to give the community bad news. Hey guys, it's going to be 2 weeks, and they're like, well, it's going to be 4 weeks. In standard practice,
he shouldn't be the one talking then.
Well, you're right. I mean, he shouldn't be the one. We all agree with there needs to be a PR person, someone in the middle.
There has to be a middleman.
Yeah. And you got to double whatever the developer says the time's going to be. You double it. That's like a standard minimum is double what the developer says. I can do it in 2 weeks. Great. Everyone will be ready in 4 weeks. And the developer's like, wait a minute, I said 2. Like, trust me, 4 weeks. Because hey, if you get it done early, no big deal.
I think that's something that Steven, having not ever made a game before, probably doesn't know. He's probably thinking, okay, this is the time frame they're giving me. This is it. So you're right. We definitely need someone in there that is going to basically know this stuff and be able to communicate it correctly. Because I think this whole mess has started because, like you said, I don't think Steven wants to give a bad answer. I think Steven does care very deeply about what this community thinks and feels. I think that he's extremely passionate about it, but he needs someone to help him basically rein some of that passion, some of that optimism in, so we can make sure we're being realistic about things as well. Which actually, this is a perfect segue into our next topic, which is specifically talking about progress being made on the game. When it comes to the MMO portion, the big thing that Steven has said is that there is multiple groups working on different things. There's a small group of people working on the Battle Royale to create and develop cosmetics and other things that go into the Battle Royale itself. But then a lot of the back end of the Battle Royale, the server stability, the way that things interact with each other, the way that the action combat actually works in the Battle Royale, all of those things are also being worked on by the MMO group as well, because that translates into the MMO. They've also shown us recently on a live stream how easy it is for them to convert all that data into a workable MMO. And to me, that shows that they aren't losing focus of that is still their main priority. Obviously, they need to do a lot more to keep getting that out there because people are getting worried. I can tell just by, Ziz, that you are very frustrated, just by the tone of your voice when it comes to this, this Battle Royale kind of being like the thing that's out there the most. But I think that people need to understand there is a lot of stuff being worked on in the background by multiple different groups. More than likely, I would say probably 90% of their workforce in Intrepid Studios is working on the MMO itself, especially based on the people that they're hiring. A one graphic artist could probably create pretty much all the cosmetics right now in the Battle Royale, which eventually those cosmetics will go to the MMO, so it also benefits in that way. But how do you guys see the current progress being made on the MMO? And Danny, if you want to take that first, you can.
Nah, I'll pass this one to somebody else.
Sure. All right, Ziz.
First, can we agree? Isn't it bullshit that we have to preface it when we say, "Oh, we're talking about the MMO"? No, we're talking about the BR now, right? Like, why do we have to make the distinction? This was supposed to be an MMO. That's what the Kickstarter. That's what the entire catchphrase was: making MMOs great again. And then they fed us this line, which I bought, that BR will be a fun testing environment. Okay, sure, I would believe that. I mean, you already had arenas. They already made arenas that people were playing at PAX. Guess what? Arenas are fun. MMOs have them. People play them for hours and hours and hours. You could have put a leaderboard with it, and that's all the testing we needed. Sure. So you asked me what kind of progress is seen in the MMO. I think it was like 3 weeks ago, they did the first live stream where they kind of announced the BR, saying it would be launching. And a lot of people freaked out saying, why is this whole live stream only about the BR? What the heck? So they did a second live stream a week later, which was kind of surprising because they've only done like one live stream every month and a half now. So they did 2 back-to-back. And so the second live stream specifically was them saying, hey, this is the MMO live stream. We're going to show you all of our progress. So people are like, okay, everybody's freaking out in the Discord, but let's calm down. Let's wait till next week when we see the MMO stream. Then we can all be happy. I watched that thing twice. and it's a shit show. I would love for someone to point out to me what is so interesting about it, because all I saw was the BR world, and they imported a couple of flags and a couple of benches. They imported a couple NPCs that they had a year ago at PAX, and that was basically it. And you click on it, and it's the most basic questing system. It's like EverQuest 1 20 years ago. You click on it, you click a couple pointless little things, and a thing pops up on the side. And then one other big nugget of upgrading the MMO I've seen is they changed the font and the font color of the quest log. So instead of being smaller and yellow, now it's bigger and white font. Like, are you fucking kidding me? They've been developing this game for 18 months. They said they were way ahead of schedule. They only have 12 months left. And that's being super generous. That's saying they are still implementing features up until the day of launch, because they're supposed to launch at the end of next year. So you're telling me this is what they've done in 18 months, and they're magically going to put in everything else in the next 12 months?
I think that that part right there is a little bit of the confusion, right? Because I think what they were trying to showcase was how easy it was to translate both the Battle Royale to the MMO. Not necessarily to show like the map of the MMO itself, but to kind of showcase how easy it is to translate the two. But you're right.
I'll give that to you. I've heard that. I'll give that to you. And if that is the case, this is another example of how inept they are at communicating with everybody about what they're doing, because what they showed us was nothing.
Lack of communication is really hurting us right now.
And that's if I believed. That's if I believed that somehow in the back end, magically, there's a bunch of MMO stuff. I know that's still the hope for a lot of people. I don't have that hope anymore.
Yeah, I think everyone's hoping that they have like an ace up their sleeve, that they didn't show everything. Because if they did show everything and that's all they got, we're in big trouble.
Well, that's where, when it comes to the MMO and testing environment, like, I'm happy that I got to test Alpha Zero in that case, right? Because I actually got to see their initial progress on the MMO. And Alpha Zero truly was, basically an alpha test for an MMO. It was not the Battle Royale. In Alpha Zero, they had basic questing systems. They had basic leveling. They had, different, NPCs in the world. They had, different, environmental hazards that you could interact with and so on. They even had dungeons, right? So that's something that they've shown that I think a lot of people have forgotten about, just because it's not been in the forefront for so long now, right? For, at least the last few months. And that's easy to forget those things, right? It's so easy to basically forget that those things are all still there. I highly doubt that they just stopped working on them, because realistically, when it comes to the Battle Royale, yeah, the Battle Royale has a lot of cool features in it. It has a castle, it has an elven city, it has a river town, and it has, a bunch of really neat buildings and so on. But when it comes down to it, that doesn't take that much development time. That really does not. It doesn't take a lot of effort to put those things together. I think what they are working on is that original map. I think that they are still expanding it. I just want them to show it. I want them to keep putting that out there as the forefront. I want them to forget about the Battle Royale. Stop hyping that. Get the MMO back in focus. And if you can show us that stuff, I think you can ease a lot of the doubt that people have built up now because of this. And perhaps maybe they're not ready to show things. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that is, very much, still not ready for public consumption. But I think
they have no problem showing all the other stuff that's broken.
I'm feeling like that. I mean, I'm honestly feeling like they need another, this is the ups and downs, as I said before, with us being part of this experience from the very beginning. Honestly, they need to talk to us in 3 months. You focus on the MMO. Don't talk to us for 3 months, and 3 months from now, you come out and show us all this stuff that you did in a 3 to 6 month window. And they were doing that originally. Originally, a year ago, this was stopping. Every 3 to 6 months they'd tell us something new and big, but they're talking every single week. There's not a lot of stuff that can happen in a week of developing on this scale. What do we want to see happen in 1 week's time, or 1 month? Even then, you're not going to see huge leaps and bounds. And I do feel like you're right. They're reaching, they don't have amazing turnarounds in this 1 month. So they're doing small things, cosmetic things, to make it feel like they did something bigger than they really did. And it downplays the hard work they are doing. They should just say, you know what? we need 3 months or 6 months to really dig in, put our heels in, play the battle royale game if we can get that out there. And that's why I feel like the battle royale game is even being pushed to begin with, because I feel like they want to give an appetizer, something to do while we wait for them to develop the MMO.
Yeah,
Otherwise.
Well, that's what I originally saw it as, as like a way to kind of tide over people, right? People that are waiting for the game, which I really appreciate that. That's something that's an awesome thing for them to do. I don't think I've ever had a developer, make like a mini game that we can play in the meantime, right? I know Star Citizen has, but I've decided to forego Star Citizen. But when it comes down to it, that's kind of what I feel like they're trying to do is, make something that is like a little bit of a gift in this case. But because we've said and we've all agreed on at this point, their miscommunication in this case is what's really hurting them. And you're right.
I don't think it's miscommunication. I don't believe that an entire studio of professional adults who supposedly have years of MMO experience, I don't believe they're so incompetent that they would say, we're putting on an MMO stream. The community is freaking out about the BR. We need to assuage their fears that the MMO is still in progress. And this is what they show us. I don't think anyone is that stupid where they're going to show us.
But you're talking about IT developer people. I got to be honest with you.
No, they're not just IT developer people.
Who are they? These are people these are artists and developers. They're, as we said, the whole need of this PR person. An analyst, a middle person's literal job is to talk between the user and the developers. An analyst's job in the business world, you do not let the user talk to the tech, because they speak different languages literally, and they can't.
Jeffrey Bard started his career in the development world as a customer service agent, and he worked his way up. And it doesn't take some sort of special marketing person to realize that, hey, you guys, we're going to do an MMO stream. Let's show them the cool MMO stuff we're doing. That doesn't take some sort of $1 million marketing whiz to figure that out. If they had something awesome to show us, they could have showed us. They've showed us a ton of stuff that was early in development. Right now, they're trying to launch a BR game that is so early in development, it's crashing and having problems. They don't have an issue with showing us early stuff. They don't have much to show us. The MMO has not progressed in the last 3 months because they've been working on this BR that they can monetize. I would
dispute that. When it comes down to it, yeah, the BR is one part of it, right? And they've been focusing on that. But they have also, consistently put out there that they are working on the siege mode. They're also working on the horde mode. Just for their Halloween stream, for example, they showed the Halloween area was kind of like this dark, looking graveyard area. That wasn't in the last stream that they showed us, and so that means that that's part of a whole different map, a whole different area that's not part of this battle royale, right? So that means that they have a whole nother map that they're working on that they were able to go into for this. Then they also have a whole nother map that we've seen on prior streams that has complete cities that, if you look back at some of the older streams, that was there. So unless they deleted that, which would be mind-blowing, I don't know why they would do that. That stuff is still all there. So they more than likely have been working on it. But you're right, they definitely need to show us it, because without it, it's like seeing is believing, right? So
that's the problem with the showing is, they're I don't know, on planning styles and stuff, Agile versus waterfall, anyone know that, but there's the concept of, you focus on one content type and you develop it all the way through, and then you bring it to the table. Or Agile, which focuses with a much more flexible style where you don't develop one content type, you just build small bits and pieces and you do it little by little. And then when you get to the very end, you puzzle it together you puzzle the pieces together, and now you have a final product. And that's how they're building it. And the problem with that is all you're going to see throughout the development is these little bits and pieces of the bigger picture being put together, and you're not seeing a progression of one entire image. You're seeing small little functions like, yeah, I see, okay, you created that, great, you created that, but how does it work together? And in this style of development, you don't see it pieced together until closer to the end. You see them, add little bits and pieces and say, okay, we got this working, we got combat working. Okay, great, we got tab targeting working. And now let's work on siege mode and see, can this function work? And that's all they're doing, is they're building these little pieces here and there, rather than trying to build an entire map and then now that you got map, let's populate the map. They're doing it on, they want to make sure they have the mechanics working before they focus on the content. And the mechanics are working to change this game. But the trouble with mechanics is back end. You don't see the mechanics of a game. You see the visuals, you see the graphics, you see the interactions, but the mechanics happen in the background. They're what make a game not boring. But it's hard to show mechanics. Mechanics are if-then statements and AI logic that kind of figures out if this happens, then do this. How do you show that? You know, it's all code on a screen. That would be they do a webcast of saying, look here on this screen and look at all this. I mean, actually, when they did the Halloween tour, you actually walked around and you saw people have their computer screen up and there was code on there. Imagine if that's all they showed us was code, and you know, if you were a developer, it might look really cool, but everyone else would just see, you know, it's like watching the Matrix and saying, okay, all I see is green code and everything. That's what they're doing. They're building the code right now, and you cannot demo that until after the mechanics work. Then you create the visuals, then you can show it. But that's unfortunately longer off.
Yeah, it is. So maybe then your suggestion is correct, and if Steven is listening, stop showing us stuff for now. Stop focusing on
showing us stuff.
Yeah, stop focusing on the battle royale. You know, put less time, put less effort into that. The minimum amount of time and effort as needed. Send out a message saying, hey, we've heard you guys, we've heard your concerns. The MMO is our focus and it will always be our focus. And this is what we're doing to support it. You know, we are working hard on coding it. We are working very diligently on making sure that this is happening, is not being ignored. You know, the majority of our team is working on this. And then say, you know, by, like, let's say, you know, 6 months or by April, when we actually get to Alpha 1, you know, which is, if that's still on time, basically by April, or let's give it like a 3-month window. So let's say April through, you know, like June, right? Or July. So let's say April through July, and say by those dates, you'll basically be able to actually experience the MMO for the alpha testers. You'll be able to jump in and actually experience it. Because all this focus on the battle royale is causing people, I think, like Ziz, to really second guess the game and second guess the developers, and that can't be good for the long-term, you know, health of this company, especially if, you know, people abandon it right now.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need to take the BR out of the spotlight. They should never have put it in the spotlight to begin with, and it needs to get out of it, like, right now. And I'll be honest, I'll be surprised if we make it to the Alpha 1 on time. If we do, hats off, I'm down. And I think if we get to that point, we're on time by Alpha 1, and they promise, and they, you know, give us what they promise for the Alpha 1, and, you know, everything's good, I think, you know, things will be fluid, and I think things would work out from then on there. But I don't think they're going to get to reach the Alpha 1 on time.
And I think that July, end of Q3, you know, end of Q2, early Q3 is a realistic, we'll see something big. April,
yeah,
you're pushing it.
And I mean, like, I even doubt, I was like, there's like almost no way. I even asked him in a meeting, I'm like, hey, is the roadmap, there's a common roadmap that is being shared. Is this roadmap, you know, accurate? Can we expect to see these time zones? And yep. And he said, yeah, all those times should be, you know, we're on schedule to do it. I'm like, okay.
See, that's a goal. That's a goal roll. That's the problem right there. That's a goal. That's the goal that we're gonna, you know, this is the path we want to take on our trip. But there's detours and there's bathroom breaks and there's things along the way that are going to slow you down. And so if you just see a perfect roadmap that shows what's going to happen, those are goals, but goals change every single day, and, you know, and timelines change. So they need stretch goals. And it feels like, I mean, if you see a roadmap and you see two times, you see, you know, the plan, and then you see a stretch goal, then someone stopped and thought about this all the way through and gave it a good consideration. If you're just seeing one date, that means there's no stretch goal, there's no placeholder for, you know, they need a project manager in there that kind of says, stop. You never say 3 months. You give it a stretch goal, because there's going to be things that happen along the way. And if you're not planning for that, you're doomed to fail.
I don't know, and I don't know why they're so stubborn to like realize and stretch these goals and give them some more breathing room. Like, I think I speak for most people, and they would say, you know, they wouldn't mind delaying the release time by a few months. Like, I don't think most people would care if it's a after 2020 release. I don't think most people like.
Right.
I think people would be able to wait for that.
I think the main issue that Steven might be running up in this case is on money. You know, when it comes down to it, he might have a set ability to pay for people's salaries up to a certain date. And if he doesn't get a viable product out by that time, it's more than likely he would go into the red and have to start borrowing money, or have to find outside investors to continue to pay for people's salaries. You know, that's
And
my
that could be
that's my
even
fear.
worse, because
Yeah.
then you got an outside influencer putting in their 2 cents, changing the vision that he has, that we all want.
Yeah. Which is part of the reason I think that he is monetizing the Battle Royale, because it is a drain on his resources. He knows that if he can't pay for this separately, that it's going to drain into the resources for the MMO, which those are finite. Those are not being reinvested into right now. The only extra income that they're getting is from the monthly backer packages, which are still being sold. And if those aren't coming in at a high enough rate, you know, there's not going to be enough money to continue to pay for people's salaries if it goes past a certain date. The other part of that as well is, you know, the my.com money, right? So that money that they infused into the company, that's probably why they're able to hire so many extra people, which I'm thinking he's trying to hire that many people to get this out on time. You know, that money is probably why they're able to do that. You know, that's a huge hiring amount that they've had in such a short window, that it's got to be a lot of money. Each person that's working there has to be making a minimum of $40,000 a year. And it's more than likely, you know, 60, 70,000 on average, especially some of these really senior talent that's coming over from, you know, Daybreak or other games that are expecting those higher salaries, because they bring that skill to the table to actually earn that higher salary. You know, I don't think they would have been able to come over if he hadn't.
And that's one thing I'm worried about with, like, when we're hiring all these people. I mean, if someone's stopping, and I don't know because I'm not part of that, you know, that inner circle, but if someone's stopping and saying, why are we hiring this person? I mean, we see all these great talents. If we give you, I mean, we'd love to bring in more people. The more people means the more money we got to spend. And if you don't have money coming in to pay them, then the question is, why are we hiring them? Is it that we feel more people means the job will get done faster? Are we hiring them because they have a nice resume and we think they'll be a great addition to the team? And this is the tough love side of things. This is the tough side of business, where you don't want to tell someone, no, you're a great talent and I've seen your work. Sure, I want you on the team. Yeah, I want you on the team. But should I have you on the team? Why am I hiring you? What are you going to bring to the table to reduce my costs, or, you know, help me reduce my timeline? And my question is, are they asking those questions, or are they, you know, just hiring because bigger staff gives the mentality of, you know, we'll get more work done?
Right. And I think that's where Jeffrey Bart comes into play. You know, when it comes down to it, they mentioned that on one of the streams where, you know, they said they do have an in-depth hiring process. I'm thinking their gamble in this situation is that they're trying to get it out by 2020. And in order to do that, because they do have such a large amount of work that has to be accomplished in this short window, it's 12 months, you know, they have to hire that many people to be able to accomplish that. And so in this case, it's got to be a gamble to, you know, say, okay, we have the people, can we get it done in this time frame? Yeah. So that being said, any other thoughts about the progress being made, about the MMO portion of things?
Let me just read off a list here real quick. I went back, I watched one of my old videos talking about like all the features of the MMO, stuff that we were looking forward to, that we're excited about, why we want this MMO to be successful. So this is just a quick list here. Raids, 40-man raids that are going to bring back the glory days of raids. They can wipe whole raids because of interesting mechanics. Dungeons, solo man, 8-man instanced open world with leaderboards. world events, and not just like monster coins, that whole system, but world events where a node gets built up enough where like a dragon comes bursting out of a mountain and tries to lay waste to it. These epic world bosses that were supposed to be different, and there's so many of them that every server is different, has its own story, so people are compelled and interested to see what is happening on different servers. Caravans that have all different routes, alternate routes, timing, different sort of defenses and stuff that you can customize them to different types of caravans to go to different nodes. The whole node system, we've seen where they just instantly pop up, but how do they transition from stage 1 to stage 2? Do they just instantly change, or is there some sort of interesting building that where it looks and works interesting? How are you voting for leadership, or the arena system where you're fighting over leadership? The castles that guilds can fight over, how that whole mechanic works, how those things. I know we're going to have the castle system soon, but that's not what's going to be in the MMO specifically. There's 3 different types of housing systems. There's the instance apartments. There's the larger sort of villas that you can have inside of a node that levels up as the nodes level up. Then there's also the freehold system. They're supposed to have all sorts of different buildings. You can run taverns and stuff like that. There's seafaring, that entire huge system, having boats and shipping and krakens out on the ocean. All of the crafting system, all the different sorts of crafting, armorsmith, weaponsmith, alchemy, tailoring, all the different crafting, all the classes, and then the secondary classes and the skill morphing where you can update that, character creation, body, hairstyles, different races, all that stuff. And then it was supposed to have a very compelling storyline, so much so Steven doesn't even want to tell us the lore because it's supposed to be so amazing. I know that was a long list, but those are all the things that are supposed to make the MMO amazing.
And here's the problem. What you just read was this is the worst part, because everything you just read is amazing, but you just read off a dreamer's wish list.
No,
you know?
Not a dreamer. Those are things they specifically told us.
I know that. And that's
they're going to have.
They're going to have. But when that list came out, that's like, theoretically, we can do all this.
No, that's not theoretically. DerRoc, I want to be positive for this game, but you cannot just be like, oh, let's do a Kickstarter. Oh, people give us $500, give us $1,000.
No, you're right. No,
this is just some made-up stuff that we're trying. This is stuff they said that they're going to do that is going to make this MMO successful. This is what's going to make MMOs great again. These things. None of this have they shown on a meaningful MMO level. There's no way in hell they're going to get it done in the next 12 months.
And that is my fear.
Calling it now.
That's all I'm saying. That's my fear.
I'm calling it now. 2-year delay.
Yeah, so, did they bite off more than they can chew? It's what I'm worried about.
This is where
I feel like we have the right.
This is where I'm actually kind of glad I've actually seen some of these mechanics already, right? When it comes to party systems, they already have party systems in the game. When it comes to the leveling of the node. So when it comes to leveling of the node in the Alpha 0, they showed us, and we actually got to experience the node itself leveling and basically expanding. Right? They don't have the in-house systems from what we saw in Alpha 0. No, but
Sinbad, you can't really say they have the node system working even in remotely the way that they wanted to have working in the MMO. In the demos and what we've done, you go down into a cave, you pick some mushrooms, boom, magically a thing pops up on your screen that says it leveled up to level 3. You walk back upstairs and it's a different node. Right, that's not even close to the way a launched MMO should be working.
Right. So a year ago, this is when they had the foundation of that, right? So that's basically when they had that in place, the foundation of how that system works. When we were in Alpha 0, when we were in Alpha 0, we got to see the node itself actually progress, and when it progressed, it would basically basically 1 second be there as a smaller thing, 1 second be there as a larger thing. It wasn't like you went downstairs; it would just pop essentially. Obviously, that's something they can adjust with animations, but they had the foundation of that system where XP goes into the node and it levels. Obviously, they still had a lot of ways to make that look nice, to make it look interesting, to have more functionality in it, but that was a year ago that they had that. They've been working on it since then. We obviously haven't seen any progress.
Okay, so right there, you just said we have not seen any progress, but they've been working on it.
Right.
Why do you think that?
Because it's all back-end code.
It's not back-end code.
Well, the mechanics that make. We're not talking about when you're in this zone of influence, and you do something that gathers experience and gives it to the city that allows it to level up there's no visual there. There's no graphics that happen. That's all back end logic that says if this character does this, then grab a percentage of that and puts it into this pool and track that time frame of leveling the keep. I mean, all that's back end.
I understand
code.
there's back end systems that do that. But if you're just going to give them a blanket pass on everything saying, well, they can't show it because it's code, then they wouldn't have shown us anything that they've shown us from day one. Everything they've been working on is a work in progress. Same with the monster coin system. Same with the very early character creation where you can pick between male and female now. Everything they're doing is a work in progress.
It is.
So, I mean, the idea that, oh, of course they've been working on it for the past year because why wouldn't they have? Well, I have a great example of why they haven't. Because they've been working on this BR that will hopefully make the money.
Well, but how long does the BR actually take to develop? You know, it doesn't actually take that long.
I would have thought it would have been very quick and easy, except for the fact that for the last month, they've screwed up every single time they've tried to launch it, even today, 2 days into their launch, and they still can't get it right. So clearly it's not that easy. Otherwise, it would be working right now.
Well, to be fair to them, it is. To a certain extent, it's having issues, though, right? Like, we can queue in. We can actually go in and play. Some tests are very smooth, and other tests are very, very poor. You know, there's a very violent transition in this period of time because every single time they're making adjustments to that back-end system, which as soon as they make one tweak, something else breaks, right? Well, that's just how programming is. You know, just from my very rudimentary understanding of it, just from having tried to code things on my own, if I try to change one line of code, it can mess up, you know, multiple other ones. So that's why we're seeing like these violent ups and downs in the battle royale testing, where one day we get in fine, it's no problem at all. Another day, like literally the next day, they changed something, they told us they changed something, and then we can't queue at all. So there's definitely this up and down. It's like a seesaw right now where they're trying to find the right balance, so it stops having this like constant fluctuation in quality.
Well, yeah, obviously, as they work on stuff, it will affect things. But the argument was that making the BR was easy and didn't take away time because we're assuming they've done a ton of work on the back end on the MMO that is halfway finished.
Right.
But we haven't seen anything, and they had a chance to show it.
The BR. Are they trying to make a stable BR that they can sell, or are they trying to use this BR environment to inject new code and new mechanics and new function all the time? Because if they just want to make a stable, you're right. I mean, if they just want to make a stable BR that works, then they could just stop development on it, clean out the broken pieces, and release it. But I don't see that. But that's not what they're doing. They keep breaking it because they keep trying to inject new functionalities and new features that they're trying to use the BR for, which is a staging area, testing area to develop these mechanics that they will eventually go into the MMO. So if we're going to continue to see this BR be a testing ground for injecting new functionalities and new features, new weapons, hey, we got a new weapon, let's just drop it in there. A new spell effect. Oh, that spell effect just broke the entire system because we didn't realize how it would impact other things. Like, people were breaking buildings and crashing the server because they were blowing buildings up and it was causing too much, packets being sent to the server and crashing it. And I'm just seeing this, like, they're not trying to make a stable BR and walk away.
They weren't before. I agree with you. That's what it was earlier. When they first sold it to us, was this is only a test bed, so it's fun to play. But they've recently multiple times reiterated this is its own standalone product that we want to monetize and release. And that release was yesterday.
Right, but they've
Here
also
is our BR. Pay for it and play. Like, that was it.
But they've also said, even with that,
or is the beta of it released yesterday?
Yesterday, the 18th, was supposed to be the official launch. Anyone who is registered for free on their website gets access, and it's supposed to be up 24 hours a day. Yesterday was the launch.
I think that's where some of the confusion comes.
I thought it was just an open beta, that it was still testing. It wasn't ready for a true release.
That's what they have said. They've said it is a beta still.
That's what their live stream was 3 weeks ago when they announced
the beta of the BR. It's not the release of the BR. It's the beta of the BR.
Yeah, it's the open beta
alpha of the MMO, beta of the BR.
Right. So what they've also reiterated in each of their streams, even as they've said they're planning to monetize the BR and release it its own product, is that they're still taking the information from the BR and they're still implementing it in the MMO. That's the whole purpose of this still. The monetization of the BR is simply to make sure that they can continue to run that testing environment on a regular basis with multiple people entering it, which honestly is really good, because when you're looking at when the BR was still limited to just like the alpha testers, just the alpha 1 testers, right? We were waiting an hour between queues because maybe only 50 people at most were playing. So now that they've opened it up to everyone, they have the option now to constantly run those tests. And they're constantly just getting back-end information saying, okay, this is how our server stability is working. This is how these things are still interacting. This is how this tweak is affecting things. So they've iterated, even with this being its own standalone product, that this is still meant to support and benefit the MMO. That's something that they're not taking away. Which I think the important thing for them to do there is to get out ahead of this and say, hey, like really make it clear, like put out like a public service announcement, basically saying that, this is their whole purpose and that the MMO is still their primary focus. I know that they've done that in the live stream, but the live stream in itself was somewhat confusing. So they need to clarify and make sure people are on the same page, because I know a lot of our members were thinking, oh, the open beta, it's for the MMO. And we had to, reiterate to them, no, this is for the Battle Royale, and the Battle Royale is its own testing phase to test, basically back-end systems. But there's a lot of confusion there. And I think they need to clarify. They need to really just get out there and clarify, make sure it's a solid statement, that statement does not change, that they don't make several different statements, that it has to be the same one each and every single time, so that way people don't get confused. But as far as kind of going back to, what you were saying before, that huge list. In one of the last live streams, they were showing, I think it was the Halloween one actually, as they were walking through the territory there, the rain, we saw a big, spider monster kind of come out of its hole. And they said that this is a world event, that because the rain was there, the spider monster is now coming out of its burrow to come and wander this path. They've shown us that. They've shown us the monster token system working. They've shown us the different dungeons. We've got to experience some of the different dungeons about, maybe 9 months ago now. We know that there are essentially bosses in those.
Would you honestly say those dungeons are comparable to any dungeon in a released MMO? I mean,
No,
come
but
on.
this is not a released MMO, and that's an important distinction to make.
No, so that's my point, though. Reading over the list, yeah, we might have seen a couple of little things where they can back end whatever. Here's a dungeon, and here's a person. Here's a mob. It's not even close to an MMO, is my point. And if they want to release in a year, they need these features done and implemented in the next 6 to 8 months for us to test, so they can fix. I mean, unless you're thinking it's going to be November 30th and like, hey guys, this is the first time we got our boats in the game. Go test them. They hopefully work absolutely perfect. Otherwise, we're screwed. Like,
No,
like
I think
I would love, Sinbad, I would love for them to come out and be like, boom, here's all the awesome stuff we've been working on. We haven't showed you. But there's no way I can believe that's true, because they've had no problem showing us other stuff super early in development. They've showed us the events where the monster coin system, what triggers those. They showed us once at a developer where he was like, oh, in this whole zone here, zombies would pop up. This was like 8 months ago. They have no problem showing us the super early stuff. And if they have no problem showing us the super early stuff, why is it for the last 2-3 months we've not seen anything that's remotely new? Why is it when they do a specific MMO stream, no one thought of, I mean, you're really saying that no one had the thought of, here's one of the new MMO features that we haven't shown. Like, like why didn't they show anything if it's there?
Well, again, that comes down to the two halves interacting, right? You have the graphics portion of things, the UI, the all that part of it, right? And you also have, like DerRoc was saying, the coding of it. A lot of times,
which
those
they've
things,
shown.
Well, they've shown as much, I think, as they are willing to show right now for those things. But what I'd say is we have basically, right now it's December 19th. We have probably about 6 months and we'll be able to see it. I think that's something we have to wait for, and we'll be able to see if this is actually going to happen or not in about that time frame.
I mean, quite frankly,
Castle Siege is supposed to be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
double that. No, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's gonna be panic I think everyone's gonna be in full of panic for the next 3 months and up to the Alpha 1. If they don't hit Alpha 1 release on time, that's kind of like the sign of everyone like, okay, yeah, our suspicions were correct. They're way behind.
Yep, I'd say give them by probably late June. If we don't see it by late June,
They need
early
to make
July.
that announcement right. Yeah, they need to make that official announcement now. Just that someone on their team needs to get on the speaker and say, "Listen, we're aiming for April, but we have a stretch goal of June. End of June, and let that be known. So don't wait to April, March 31st and say, "Hey, we're not going to make the April go date." That is not good planning. But just tell us now it's going to be end of June. We're aiming for April, but given unexpectedness, end of June. And you're right. If end of June comes and we don't have something solid and concrete to look at, we might want to be worried. But if they can get something out there, and also I feel like one thing I'd love to hear from them to tell us is, hey, listen, we have 150 employees. 10% of them will be focused on the BR team. 90% of them are going to be focused on MMO. We're going to go dark on the MMO for 4 months. Don't expect to hear anything about MMO, and then in 4 months from now, we're gonna really blow you away. And this small 10% group, they're gonna work on the BR, and that's what you'll hear for the next 4 months. Or drop the BR altogether, and that's the kind of the question: which one's the better option? Do you drop the BR altogether, or do you tell us that only 10% of our workforce is really focused on BR, and tell us up front we're going to go dark for 4 months. Don't ask us any questions about MMO because our people are all bunkered down, really doing something amazing, and in 4 months we'll see what happens. I mean, that's what I would like to see.
I'd like to see that as well, and I think that would help a lot. I think it really would, and I think it's definitely needed right now. And if Steven is listening, hopefully he hears us out and actually does that, because I think that would help calm a lot of fears that this is just a battle royale, or that this is, basically not going to happen within the next year. I know he keeps saying that, yeah, it's still on schedule, but, people do need to have that reassurance, and there needs to be a clarification of anything that's communicated, because obviously at this point it's just not effective. And effective communication is key. That's something that we're taught in sales. And I've been working in sales for 10 years now. It's very important to make sure that the communication you're giving out is correct and that it's effective and that people understand. Because without that, you're not going to sell your product, and without you're going to lose your community.
Well, there's not a ton. I mean, alpha, as far as the Alpha 1 thing, there's honestly not a ton that they said they're going to have. I mean, they said progression level 20. We've already seen it to like level 10. That's not hard, just to add a couple levels and manufacture some experience bars. You know what I mean? Like, they said they'll have the action and tab targeting. That'll be hard, but tab shouldn't be hard, right? They'll have a quarter of the world, 8 archetypes, 4 of the races, and character creation. As far as game features, that's all they said.
No, they said they'll have the guild system in it. They said they have a basic economy system. They also said that they will have a node system in the game as well. And specifically,
won't it be up to level 4 nodes?
Yeah, it will be level 4 nodes, and then we'll also have 120 square kilometers of play area, which
a quarter of the world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is huge. It's so they actually have a lot of the MMO aspects that they're going to be building into Alpha 1. So I think if they do pull that off, if we get to see it, I think we'll be having a much different conversation around June. But that's definitely up to them if they're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that's actually all the topics we have for right now. That's kind of the biggest things. And I would say, if people are watching this and are listening and they're concerned, definitely be cautious. Don't put in a lot of money into it right now. Don't be super, super hopeful, but definitely support, these developers. Tell them, what we want to see and what we want to hear. Because at this point, they, I think, are listening too intently to everyone, and it needs to kind of be focused. I think it needs to be focused away from the battle royale. It needs to be focused down to the MMO, and it needs to, stop listening to all these hecklers that I think that they made that knee-jerk reaction about the battle royale about. Because obviously that I don't think was planned to change. I think they did that as a knee-jerk reaction in this case. All right, guys. Unless anyone else wanted to bring up a topic, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to end this here. Anything else you guys wanted to say real quickly about it?
No.
I'll say closing statement. I just want to put out there with Intrepid Studios. They're not the first company to be working on a bigger idea and drop a small, quick cash making money project to pull in some money. I mean, we've seen many businesses do it. At least they're open about it. Other ones will create a shell company under their umbrella, release a game to pull money in, and not even tell you that it's, we only released this because we needed more money. I mean, they are creating a game, and they are openly telling us we want to make more money on this. So I actually respect them for the fact that they're not, they're very open with that kind of communication.
Yeah, and I mean, Steven's stated it multiple times that transparency is like his number one. It's a double-edged sword, but it's something that he's more than comfortable taking. That's the road that he wants to take. He wants to make sure that everything's transparent, 100%.
All right, I agree with you on that. That's actually one of the biggest reasons I'm supporting him, is because I've personally met him. I've personally talked with him. When it comes down to it, I believe that he is going to be making this game what he wants it to be, and I do believe in his passion to make it happen. I just hope that someone's there to help, rein that in and be realistic when it comes down to things, so we can get that correct communication out, and we can get the right information out, the right timelines out, so we can avoid this confusion and this mess that's happened. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and do our outros now. Ziz, can you tell people where to find you?
No, I don't want anybody to find me. No, just check out my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Ziz. It's a good time.
All right, awesome. And Danny?
Same thing, you can catch your boy, #1 Ashes player, at twitch.tv/dphantomtv.
That's even Steven approved, #1.
Yeah, that's Steven approved #1 Ashes player.
That Phantom guy.
That Phantom guy is pretty good. Saw that clip.
Oh, yeah. All right, DerRoc?
Well, yeah, I'm a new streamer here, so no one's probably ever heard, but I go by the Blue Diamond, and I'm just opening up on Google, on YouTube, so you can find me on YouTube, the Blue Diamond. I'm putting up a Twitch stream for the Blue Diamond, and my focus here is pretty much, Christian-focused gaming. So I hope to have game streams going on where I have gaming content with Christian music, uplifting, hopeful, messages in the background. So if you're looking for any kind of, Christian-focused gaming, the Blue Diamond may be your place to come check out.
Awesome, man.
Will do.
All right, and then, of course, I'm Sinbad. I'm the leader of Ember. We're an Ashes of Creation guild. We are an economic-focused guild, but we are also PvX. We're semi-hardcore. We're going to be doing a bit of everything in the game, and if you're looking for an awesome community, a thriving community, one of the most active ones in the North America server, come check us out. You can check us out at embers.us. And then you can also check us out on our stream, which you can find me personally at twitch.tv/Sinbad_IRL. And thank you guys for watching. We're going to be trying to release more episodes here in the near future. We're going to be releasing a lot of Battle Royale content too. And also some new content from other MMOs such as Atlas and ArcAge. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, feel free to come by and check out our streams or check out our YouTube page. Again, we'll be trying to release things on a regular schedule going forward each Wednesday. Thank you again for watching. You have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you around.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
This fire. I was born to be making history. Something greater, something higher. Ain't nothing gonna stop this fire.